You don't need to raise your voice to prove your strength. A truly grounded mind commands respect not through noise, but through presence. In a chaotic world where people are quick to react, quick to anger, quick to give up, the one who can stay calm, rational, and disciplined is the most formidable. Not because they strike first, but because they're nearly impossible to bring down. That's exactly what you're about to learn in this video, through the lens of Stoicism. Stoicism isn't just abstract theory for philosophers locked away in libraries. It was practiced by generals on the battlefield, by emperors like Marcus Aurelius in times of crisis, and by everyday people facing grief, pain, and injustice. It teaches one simple truth. You can't control the world, but you can control yourself. And when you do that, you become unshakable. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build a mind that's not only strong, but quietly intimidating. Because people will sense you're not someone who falls easily. Number 1, the mind shift that changes everything. Do you want a mind so strong it makes others pause? Then don't start by powering up. Start by letting go of the illusion that life is supposed to be easy. The root of suffering is the belief that things should be smooth, simple, and go your way. People aren't hurt by events, they're hurt by their thoughts that those events shouldn't happen. That's the first mental trap, and the first wall that must fall. We grow up in a world that quietly promises, if you try hard enough, things will go well. But Stoicism says the opposite. The world promises nothing. It's not cruel, but it's not kind either. It simply is what it is. The shift begins when you stop thinking, I wish the world were better, and start thinking, I'll be stronger for whatever comes. That's when change begins. Not out there, but inside. Look at the strongest people you've ever known. They're not the ones who always win. They're the ones who don't break when they lose. They don't react emotionally. They pause, then choose their response. That's the real difference. A resilient mind isn't built on morning affirmations taped to your mirror. It's built in silence, under pressure, in moments of collapse, in the moment you want to give up, but take one more step, and then another. Viktor Frankl, in the depths of what can only be called hell, Auschwitz, discovered this. When everything is taken from you, one freedom remains, the freedom to choose your response. Think that's obvious? It's not. It's one of the greatest insights of the 20th century. Because it shifts control from the outside world back into your hands. Frankl didn't escape suffering. He transformed it. And he survived, not just physically, but with meaning. But to do that, you have to change how you see adversity. Most people treat hardship like punishment. A Stoic sees it as a custom-designed test for their mental evolution. Imagine your mind as a blade. Without friction, fire, and hammering, it stays a lump of metal. To become sharp, it must be tested. No exceptions. Have you noticed that those who overreact emotionally are often the ones who face the least real hardship? Meanwhile, people who've endured deep pain tend to respond with calm. They've been forged. But here's the good news. You don't have to wait for tragedy to learn this. You can train your mind daily, simply by being aware of your reactions. Ask yourself, does this really matter? Can I choose a different way to see this? If I follow my emotions, what will that cost me? These aren't just philosophical questions, they're mental weapons. Now do the hard thing. Stop thinking failure is wrong. See it as necessary. It's the first resistance your mind must overcome to grow strength. You can't learn patience when everything's on time. You can't learn conviction without opposition. You can't build inner strength if you've never stood alone in silence. A strong mind isn't born, it's built. Truly resilient people don't need to prove anything. They don't say, "I'm fine." They are fine. They don't flex, compete, or try to dominate because they've won the hardest fight, the one within. And that quiet strength, that's what unsettles others. Not because it's aggressive, but because it reflects the instability in them. There's a practice you can start right now. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this here to teach me?" That one question can keep you from spiraling. It brings you back to the present, to the only thing you truly control, how you see the problem. And when you change how you see it, you change your experience of it. Not because the world changes, but because you have. A strong mind doesn't need armor. It doesn't crave validation. It doesn't try to intimidate. But its steadiness makes others cautious, because you can't beat someone who no longer needs to win. That's an untouchable kind of strength, because it doesn't come from outside. But if you truly want to grow, mindset alone isn't enough. You also have to shed the habits that quietly weaken you, the ones you think are harmless, but slowly erode your core, and that's what we're going to uncover next. Number 2, habits you must break to grow. There are small things we do every day without ever asking ourselves, "Why am I still stuck in the same place?" It's not because we lack potential, but because we unknowingly carry habits that quietly imprison our minds. A strong mind isn't built on fleeting high-minded thoughts. It's forged by deliberately clearing away the mental clutter we accumulate over time. You can't become a warrior if every morning you wake up and slip right back into a cycle of complaining, procrastinating, and chasing comfort. Complaining is a sweet but toxic drug for the mind. When you grumble about your job, your co-workers, the weather or traffic, you're telling your brain, "I'm powerless, I'm not in control." Worse, you start to believe it. Sure, it brings momentary relief, but it leaves you stuck in the same unchanged reality. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone calm, composed, and focused on solutions who constantly complains? Mentally strong people choose action or silence. If they can fix something, they do. If they can't, they let it go. Everything in between is just draining your life energy. Next time you're about to complain, ask yourself, what can I do right now to change this? If the answer is nothing, then exhale, release it, and move on. Another well-disguised trap is comfort. We're constantly tempted by the soft chair, the cool room, the easy option, the familiar path. But the comfort zone is where growth dies. Stoicism doesn't teach us to be cold or detached. It teaches us to face discomfort as an inseparable part of life. When you skip a workout because you're tired, when you stay silent because you're afraid to offend, when you delay a decision because you're not ready, you're sending yourself the message, "Today, I choose not to grow." Growth doesn't come from what you read or listen to. It comes from your willingness to step into discomfort on purpose. Each day, choose one thing that stretches you. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Say a clear no. Try something you've always avoided. That's how you expand your inner frontier. We're also masters of excuses. The reasons sound convincing. I'm busy. I don't have time. I'm not that kind of person. But excuses are just elegant disguises for fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of change. And the danger is we start treating those excuses like unshakable truths. People with strong minds don't make excuses. They face reality and take responsibility. They don't wait for motivation. They just need the right reason. Ask yourself this: what in my life is stuck simply because I keep making excuses? There's one more habit we often overlook, but it's deeply rooted: the need for approval. We all crave recognition, praise, and agreement. That's human. But when your mind is controlled by other people's opinions, you lose yourself. You bend to fit in, hesitate over key decisions because what will they think? And slowly your core fades away. A Stoic knows the only approval that matters comes from their own conscience. Epictetus wrote, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." When you no longer need to be understood or applauded, you take your first steps toward real inner freedom. Here's the surprising thing: when you let go of old habits, you don't feel empty, you feel lighter. Like cutting sandbags off a hot air balloon, you start to rise. You don't need more, you need less. Less complaining, less comfort-seeking, less excuse-making, less craving for validation. And then you'll meet a version of yourself you've never seen before: calm, clear, unshakable. Now pause for a moment, just one breath. Close your eyes and ask yourself, am I nurturing my mind or sabotaging it every day? What's the one thing I keep doing over and over that I know is holding me back? You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Just start today with one thing, one habit you know is limiting you. Stop it. No promises, no overthinking. Just do it. Every small act is a hammer blow to the wall around your willpower. And one day, you won't have to pretend to be strong anymore. You will be. And then you'll be ready for the next chapter. Not just eliminating the bad, but building the good. That's when we start talking about daily practice, concrete actions to forge lasting inner strength. A solid foundation that won't crack, no matter how chaotic life gets. Number 3, daily practices for inner strength. After tearing down the old outdated beliefs, self-sabotaging habits, and all the crutches you once leaned on, you're left standing on bare ground. There's nothing to cling to, but also nothing to hold you back. This isn't a frightening void. It's an opportunity. And it's where you start to rebuild, not a temporary shelter to survive the day, but a solid home for the mind. Every brick you lay isn't just knowledge, it's action. Repeated, steady, real. Stoicism isn't a philosophy to simply understand. It's a discipline to live. And you can't live it unless you practice it every single day. Strangely, many people think of mental strength as some mystical trait or an inherited gift. But the Stoics knew better. The mind is a construction site. You build it brick by brick, beam by beam, with discipline, with willpower, and with seemingly trivial acts. Like taking a cold shower in the morning. It doesn't make you a hero. But it is the first test of the day. Will you choose discomfort to regain control, or will you let old habits drag you back into weakness? Then there's movement. A weak body can barely support a strong mind. The ancient Romans understood this. The body is an instrument of the will. When you lift weights, run, or do push-ups, you're not just training muscles. You're building endurance, grit, and above all, self-respect. You said you would, and you did. Rain or shine, witnessed or not. So ask yourself, how long has it been since you last broke a promise to yourself? But intensity is only half the battle. The other half is depth. A true Stoic carves out a few minutes every day to step back from the noise, shut everything off, and actually listen to themselves. Call it meditation, stillness, silence, whatever you want. Just know this: no one can control their emotions if they've never taken the time to observe them. When the world pushes you into chaos, only this kind of inner training can keep you grounded, rather than blown around like a leaf in the storm. And then there's the one practice most people avoid: choosing to challenge yourself daily. Not to show off, but to sharpen. Wake up when the alarm rings. Don't snooze. Send the uncomfortable email. Say no when you need to withdraw. Learn the skill that makes you feel clumsy and slow. These things are small, but every time you do them, you place another brick of willpower. And every time you dodge them, you carve a deeper hole inside yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You don't need to explain this line, you need to live it. The freedom you're chasing isn't out there. It's in your ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. So be honest. When was the last time you chose the hard thing instead of the easy one? When did you last say no to comfort so you could say yes to growth? A strong mind doesn't need praise. It works in silence. It doesn't overreact. It doesn't get pushed around. People may not know why you feel different, but they will feel it. And sometimes they'll fear the quiet power you carry. If you truly want to build that kind of strength, start tomorrow, or better yet, start today. Take a cold shower, move your body, sit in silence. Choose the hard thing you've been avoiding. Do it not because you're motivated, but because you're building a mind that can't be shaken. No applause, no rewards. Just the quiet knowing you're becoming solid as stone. And if you feel tired, discouraged, or ready to quit, pause, breathe, notice what's happening. Realize this discomfort won't break you. It's simply asking, are you worthy of the stronger version of yourself? Because once you notice the shift in your reactions, your calm in chaos, your grip on anger, laziness, fear, you'll know you're not who you used to be. And that's when you're ready for the next lesson, the one every true Stoic spends a lifetime learning: how to rethink failure, not to avoid it, but to befriend it, and use it to become unshakable. Number 4, rethink failure like a Stoic. Failure is something most of us are taught to avoid, to hide, or to move past as quickly as possible, as if it were a filthy trap on the road of life, and only the careless fall into it. But to a Stoic, failure isn't a trap. It's a map nobody wants to hold, but anyone who's gone far has read. Failure shows you where you're weak, where you don't fully understand yourself, where you thought you had enough, but didn't. Most people see it as the end. A Stoic sees it as reality's stern nod, inviting you to adjust and move forward. If you've ever lost a job, been rejected, or stood in a room full of people and still felt invisible, you've failed. And if, in those moments, all you did was blame yourself, lash out, or rush for comfort, then you missed a rare chance to train your mind. A strong mind isn't one that knows everything. It's one that dares to sit with failure and ask, "What are you here to teach me?" The truly successful, the ones others respect without them needing to say a word, are the ones who've asked that question many times and waited long for the answer. Catherine Schultz, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, wrote an entire book called Being Wrong to highlight a deeply uncomfortable truth. The best people are often the ones who've been wrong the most, but they don't get stuck in their mistakes. They observe them like scientists watching an experiment. No shame, no excuses, no defensiveness. If you fail, you learn. If you learn, you grow. And that's how they go further than those who cling to being right. Think about it. What mistake have you made that still keeps you from trying again? The ego that can't admit fault is the quietest prison you'll ever live in. A Stoic doesn't deny their flaws. They treat them as the first stepping stone to inner strength. Because if you can't handle being wrong, you'll never handle getting better. Sarah Blakely, the world's youngest self-made female billionaire, was asked by her father every day, "What did you fail at today?" It might sound like a cruel joke, but it did something most parents are too afraid to do. It trained her to face failure head-on from an early age. For Blakely, failure wasn't proof of being wrong, it was proof she was reaching. When her idea for Spanx was rejected dozens of times, she didn't feel ashamed. She felt closer to a yes. Maybe you think you're nothing like Blakely, but the truth is, you're more like her than you think. The only difference is, she trained her brain not to flinch every time the world said no. The Stoic trains the mind the way a blacksmith tempers steel. They know no blade is sharpened in warm water. Failure is the forge, the anvil, the hammer's rhythm. And every time you fall, you face a choice. Shrink back into shape, or take the heat and remake yourself. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show men what they are, not a success, not praise, not moments of recognition. It's failure, hardship, and loss that strip you down to your core, and only when you dare to look at what's truly there does rebuilding mean anything at all." The problem is, no one ever teaches us how to fail well. We're taught to win, to be smart, to be better than others. But no one shows you how to watch someone you love walk away without losing your self-worth. How to stare at a report card full of Fs without believing you're worthless. How to fail and stay awake through it. A Stoic isn't someone who feels no pain. They're someone who feels deeply but doesn't lose themselves in it. If you want to build a mind so strong it makes others think twice before underestimating you, start at your weakest point. The failure you're still too scared to face. Write it down. Look at it. Don't judge it. Just learn. And next time failure knocks, don't pretend you're not home. Open the door, pour it a quiet cup of tea, and ask, "What are you here to teach me this time?" If you're still reading, if you've made it through more than half this journey with me, you're not just listening to a speech, you're learning to stand inside the fire. We're not here to comfort you, we're here to remind you. There's something inside you that hasn't been awakened yet, and failure holds the key. Hit like if this helped you see failure differently, and don't leave just yet, because what's next won't repeat the same ideas. They're the next blows in the forge that will shape a steel-strong mind. No one else can do this for you. But if you do it, trust me, the world won't be able to ignore you. Number 5, master your emotions under fire. Try to remember the last time someone hurt you. Maybe it was an offhand remark, a cutting comment, or just a dismissive glance during a meeting. In that moment, did your blood rush to your head, heart pound faster, throat tighten in anger? Did you just want to snap back? That reaction is instinctive and understandable, but not always necessary. Emotions are like steam in a pressure cooker. Open the lid too soon, and it blasts out, burning everything around it. But if you manage the heat, you can cook an incredible meal without hurting anyone. The problem isn't the cooker, it's whether you know how to control the flame. Stoicism doesn't ask you to be emotionless or detached. It asks one simple question: is what you're reacting to really worth sacrificing your peace of mind? Is it worth brooding for 3 days over a nasty comment online? Worth slamming the table in a meeting because someone disagreed with you? Worth sulking all day because of one condescending look? Emotions aren't the enemy. They're messages, but you can choose to read them rather than be swept away by them. In a job interview, a candidate walks in, strong resume, solid experience, but a slightly tense attitude. The interviewer raises an eyebrow. Instead of getting defensive, the candidate pauses, smiles, and calmly asks, "Could you share what concerns you might have? I'd love to address them." The room falls silent. No one expected that kind of calm. It wasn't just an answer, it was a signal. I'm not easily shaken. People like that command respect, not because they're the smartest in the room, but because they stay steady. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." No flowery language, no lofty philosophy, just the truth, a truth many people avoid, because if you really believed you had control over your mind, you'd have no excuse to lose it over someone else's behavior. I once heard a man in his 50s say, "It took me 15 years to learn not to argue back when my wife is upset. Not because I'm afraid, but because I've learned that when someone's angry, they say things they don't mean, and I choose not to make things worse." He wasn't a philosopher, but he was a true Stoic, without ever reading a single page. Pausing before reacting isn't some mental trick. It's a life skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. Every morning before you leave the house, remind yourself, "Today, I won't react too quickly." And every time you feel yourself on the verge of snapping, try standing still for 5 seconds. Just count. No need for deep breathing or fancy techniques. Just count, like someone about to say something that matters. Because what you're about to say does matter. And if you say it while caught in emotion's grip, you'll probably regret it. There's a line in the Bible I've always loved. "A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back." Wisdom isn't knowing everything, it's knowing when to stay silent. If you try this, even for just a week, you'll notice that the real change isn't in others, but in your presence. You become calmer, harder to provoke, less vulnerable to the rashness of others. And when that shift happens, people start treating you differently. Not because you're famous, powerful, or cold, but because they can tell you're not easily pierced. Staying grounded in the heat of conflict is an art, but staying grounded even when someone is throwing fuel on the fire, that's real strength. Number 6, build an unshakable mental core. In Stoicism, no one is born with an unshakable mind. It's not a gift, it's a skill built slowly, consistently, often in silence, so subtle no one notices. And because it's quiet, when it finally forms, it commands a kind of respect. Not the fear that comes from aggression, but the awe that comes from someone who stays calm while others spiral into panic. It sounds good in theory. But what does it actually look like? It looks like rush hour traffic that's not moving, a deadline breathing down your neck, your phone ringing non-stop, and an email from your boss blaming you for a mistake that wasn't yours, and you don't lose it. You don't slam the desk, snap at anyone, or shoot back with sarcasm. You sit, you breathe, You think, I've been through worse, I can handle this. That's Stoicism. Not a long lecture, just a single choice in a single moment. But it changes everything. Picture your mind like a house. When the storm comes, the fragile run outside to see what's happening. The Stoics shut the door, check the windows, and secure everything from the inside. The world will always be chaotic. You just need one place that stays steady. That place is within you. It's where you take control of how you respond. Part of the Stoic way of living is learning what's not worth reacting to, and that's something you can train. Start with one moment a day when you usually overreact. Maybe it's someone cutting in line, a barrage of texts, or spilling coffee on an important document. In that moment, pause. Ask yourself, is this emotion helping anything? If not, why carry it? Each time you do that, you lay another brick in the foundation of your inner core. It's in that quiet repetition, no fanfare, no grand declarations, that you start becoming someone others might not understand, but can't ignore. People may disagree with you, dislike you, or even try to throw you off, but they won't be able to rattle you, and that's what makes them hesitate. Let me tell you a story, not for entertainment, but because sometimes you need to see yourself in someone else to believe there's still a way forward, even if you have to crawl. This is about a man named Mark, who lived in the suburbs of Cincinnati, Ohio. He used to be a delivery driver for a courier service, working 12-hour days, sending money home to a mother battling cancer, while trying to pay off student loans from a degree he never finished because he had to work full-time. One icy winter night, his truck skidded at an intersection. Crash, delivery cancelled, job gone. A week later, his girlfriend left. Her note read, "I can't live in this uncertainty." Mark sat alone in a cold apartment, with thin blankets, a wheezing heater, and $72 in his bank account. He didn't post online. He didn't call anyone. He just opened his notes app and typed, "No one's coming, so I have to come for myself." 3 months later, he took day work at an old auto shop. A year later, he was fixing the same kind of truck that had crashed. 7 years later, he published a book. Enduring didn't make me strong. Rebuilding did. Now bring it back to you. Try a tool that seems simple but changes everything. Every night before bed, write down one moment from the day where you lost control, and then write 3 different ways you could have responded if your inner core had been stronger. Keep doing it. Over time, you'll see that change doesn't come from feeling powerful, but from becoming harder to shake, one choice at a time. Remember, people won't be wary of you because you speak loudly or argue well. They'll be wary because you don't waver. Because when they act on impulse, you choose stillness. When they unravel, you hold your rhythm. Your steadiness reflects their chaos, and not everyone is ready to face their own reflection. And if you've made it this far, there's one thing you need to know. Mental strength won't make the road shorter, but it will keep you standing when the road gets hard. But to walk the whole path, you need something even stronger than strength: discipline. Motivation only shows up when it wants to. Discipline is what you rely on when motivation disappears, and that's the final lesson waiting for you. Number 7. Why discipline beats motivation. You wake up at 5:30 a.m. The alarm blares through the cold, silent room. Your body feels heavy, your eyes refuse to open. In your head, a negotiation begins. Just 10 more minutes, then I'll get up. 10 minutes pass, then 10 more. Eventually you drag yourself out of bed at 7, frustrated, not because you're late, but because once again you lost that quiet battle. This isn't about weak willpower. It's the price you pay for an undisciplined mind. Most of us believe that one powerful reason or one inspiring quote is enough to change our lives. But that's a beautiful illusion and a dangerous one. Motivation is like a visitor. It shows up unexpectedly, lingers for a while, and disappears without warning. If you build your future on it, it's like building a house on sand. You'll work when you feel like it, and stall when you're tired, sad, lazy, or just not in the mood. Discipline is different. Discipline is invisible, but everyone feels it when you have it. It shows in how you speak less and do more, in how you walk to the gym in the rain, in how you say no to greasy food because you're chasing something bigger. People might say, "You're so persistent." But deep down, it's not persistence. It's that there's no other option. You've turned the right action into a reflex, no negotiations, no need to feel like it. Look at people who succeed consistently. They're not the ones overflowing with energy. They're the ones who understand that emotions are variables, but action must be constant. A writer writes every day, even with nothing to say. A pro athlete trains even when they're heartbroken. An entrepreneur reads each morning, even after a crushing failure. These people live by systems, not by sparks of inspiration. Got a goal? Lose weight, write a book, earn more. Great. But goals are just compasses. They don't move you. Systems are the wheels. You need to schedule 5 workouts a week. Get the junk food out of your kitchen. Write 500 words each morning, no matter how awful the draft. That's where discipline comes in, not as a strict boss, but as a gatekeeper. It doesn't let you second-guess, stall, or say, maybe tomorrow. In today's world, power doesn't come from being loud, flashy, or clever. It comes from quiet consistency. You don't talk about reading, you read. You don't brag about waking up early. You've done it for 2 years. No one sees you training, but your results make them stop and stare. That stability shakes people. It unsettles them, because they know nothing can pull you off course. You're not swayed like they are. Think it sounds boring? Maybe. Truth rarely glitters. But ask yourself, is it more exciting to live a life ruled by fleeting emotions and bad decisions? And if you're always waiting for inspiration, when will you ever write your first chapter? Now look at your day. Did you do what needed to be done, or just what you felt like doing? Did you live like someone in control, or like a servant to your moods? And if you already know systems are the answer, what are you waiting for? It starts with one action, then another. No applause, no glamour. But if you repeat it long enough, you won't just build a stronger mind. You'll build a life others can't replicate, because discipline can't be borrowed. It's forged, day by day, in the unseen moments that shape everything. And if you live like that long enough, you won't just build mental strength. You'll become a pillar of stability in a chaotic world. And nothing is more powerful than someone who always knows exactly what they need to do, no matter what their emotions try to say. We've just explored 7 principles to help you build a mind so steady, so unshakable, that it commands quiet respect. Not because you pretend to be strong, but because you live with consistency, calm, and control, even when life is pure chaos. Stoicism doesn't hand you a magic spell. It gives you tools. It doesn't say, feel better. It says, do the right thing, no matter how you feel. And it's in those exact moments when you don't want to keep going but you do anyway, that your mind grows. Quietly, relentlessly, powerfully. You might not even notice you've changed. But one day someone will ask, "How do you stay so grounded?" And you'll smile, because you'll know it wasn't luck, it was practice. If something in this video resonated with you, leave a comment. I want to hear your story, what you're pushing through, what you're working on. And if this journey speaks to you, hit subscribe. We've got more to learn. This path of inner growth, it's only just beginning.